Are we live already? Okay. So, greetings to my fellow Rotarians, friends, and guests. Today, the 25th of April, is a momentous occasion, for we have indeed a special guest who we should thank properly later for lending us his precious time. At this, by the way, my name is past President David Ackerman of the Rotary Club of Makati. It's always a pleasure to be moderator of Rotary meetings such as these, because we have lots of reasons to be thankful, but more importantly, we have chances to be with our friends who we have been keeping for many years. So happy to see everyone. At this juncture, may I call on our dear President, Michael Escaler, to please call the meeting to order.
On behalf of the Rotary Club of Makati, I hereby call this meeting to order.
Thank you, President Michael. May we invite everyone to please rise for the invocation to be led by past President Cesar Campos. And please remain standing for our national anthem, followed by the RC Makati hymn.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians, ladies and gentlemen. Heavenly Father, we seek for your presence, to ask your guidance and wisdom as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion after the speech of our guest speaker, the Commanding General of the Philippine Army. Allow us to understand how to conquer the challenges that we are facing today and beyond. Lord God, continue to remind us that we learn today is for the pursuit of truth for your greater glory. All this we ask in your name, and may God bless us all. Amen.
Kadagat bulok sa naganda at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Araw niya, pag may di magbidilig. Ang ligaya, gentlemen, Rotary hymn.
We're the Rotary Club of Makati, and together we stand proud. We are leaders with integrity, always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four-way test, building goodwill and peace along the way, giving hope to the world. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, prepared to aid our fellow men as true Rotarians, we live to lead. We believe in service above self, and this is why we succeed. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, and together we stand proud. We are leaders with integrity, always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four-way test, building goodwill and peace along the way, giving hope to the world. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, giving hope to the world. The Rotary Club of Makati.
Before I let everyone take their seats, let us all proudly, for all Rotarians, including the dear General here, let us all recite the four-way test of the things we say or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? I hope your answer is yes, 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 and yes. Have your seat, gentlemen. We now move on to the part where we greet our birthday celebrators and also our lovebirds who have wedding anniversaries. Okay. Harley Liano, I see him here. Happy birthday, April 29. That's the only Rotarian for this week who has a birthday. Rotary Ants. Oh, Wilma Palafox. Today is her birthday, April 25. Jenny Bosch, April 26. Mimi C, April 27. Renelyn Nithyananthan, April 29. And Twinkle Marcelo, May 1st. Happy wedding anniversary to Ronnie and Luchis Yasoyco, April 29. Past President Rick and Et Lebrea on the 30th of April. Round of applause. So for the dignitaries, we would like to acknowledge our very own past district governors. I think they are somewhere in attendance. Past District Governor Tony Quila. Past District Governor Pepito Bengzon. Okay. We'd also like to acknowledge the guest of Rotarian Ed Rojas, VJ Dargani. Did I miss any guest? Of course, except for our main speaker who will be properly introduced later. If none, we move on to the President's time. President Michael, I believe you have a few announcements to make. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, David. I wanted to thank IPP Louis Aseoche and past President Bimbo and Queenie Mills for representing our club at the 75th charter anniversary of the Rotary Club of Cagayan de Oro over the weekend, and for signing the new brotherhood agreement with them. Congratulations to our newest brother club, RC Cagayan de Oro. We hope to see you here in Manila soon. I've been speaking about nutrition for almost a year now, and I'm glad that our club has taken the challenge to contribute to this cause. I hope that more of our members will take time as well to join this program and see for themselves the transformation that children undergo after the prescribed 6 months of daily nourishment that we bring them. Tomorrow, the 26th of April at 10:30 a.m., we will be graduating the 60 or so families who participated in our RCM for Babies project, a club initiative conceptualized by Ann Menchit or Devesa, under which we provided Mingo meals and good food bags to the women and taught them how to prepare nutritious food. This coming Monday, May 1st, a holiday, please join us on a trip to Bay Laguna for the launch of a supplemental feeding program for 60 children in partnership with Kabisig ng Kalahi. This program will provide the undernourished kids hot meals and milk for 6 months. I truly hope you can join me on these activities. And finally, PE Bing is requesting your presence at the pre-planning schedule on May 3, Wednesday, 12 noon at the RCM Clubhouse. That's at 5 p.m. CP Lisa Mapagu of RC Makati City Diamond will facilitate the session that includes strategic planning, identification of objectives, establishing goals, and developing a strategy map. Kindly confirm your attendance to the Secretariat for proper food count. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Michael, for your announcements. Moving on to the main part of our program, we have our past president, Fidel Alfonso, to introduce our guest of honor, General Omet Brawner. So please, round of applause to the introducer.
Fellow Rotarians and guests, good afternoon. Lieutenant General Romeo S. Brawner Jr. assumed the leadership of the Philippine Army as the 65th Commanding General on 10 December 2021. He entered the Philippine Military Academy in 1985 and earned his Bachelor of Science degree, graduating number 2 as a proud member of the Philippine Military Academy Makatao class of 1989. During his senior year in the academy, he led as the Baron, or the regiment commander of the Cadet Corps. He exemplified the highest levels of excellence in his military schoolings. In particular, he excelled in the Special Forces Operations Course, Intelligence Officers Course, and the AFP Controllership Course, graduating number 1 in his class. In 2011, Lieutenant General Brawner served as the representative of the Philippines during the United States Visitor Leadership Program on Foreign Policy. He also attended the Advanced Security Cooperation course at the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies in Honolulu, Hawaii. In 2022, he was invited as a speaker during the Symposium on International Law applicable to urban siege warfare at the Harvard Law School in Boston, Massachusetts. He also demonstrated the finest ideals of servant leadership in his previous designation, such as company commander of the 6th Special Forces Company, battalion commander of the 2nd Special Forces Battalion, Operations Officer of the Special Forces Regiment Airborne, Chief of Staff of the 6th Infantry Campilan Division, Chief Public Affairs of the Philippine Army, Spokesperson of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Commander of the Civil Military Operations Regiment, and Brigade Commander of the 103rd Infantry Brigade during the aftermath of the Marawi siege in 2017. Lieutenant General Brawner served as the commandant of the cadets in the Philippine Academy, wherein he played an important role in the total eradication of hazing and maltreatment in the Cadet Corps. Later on, he served as the first Deputy Chief of Staff for Financial Management, J-10, Armed Forces of the Philippines. Lieutenant General Brawner also served as the commander of the 4th Infantry Diamond Division, where he supervised the unit's combat operations that resulted in the decisive neutralization of George Madlos Orca Oris, the commander of the National Operations Command of the New People's Army. General Brawner has acquired 3 master's degrees: Masters in Information Management from the Ateneo de Manila University, Masters in Business Administration from the Asian Institute of Technology in Thailand, and from the European School of Management, Oxford, United Kingdom, and Masters in Strategic Studies from the United States Army War College. He was among those awarded in the Outstanding Philippine Soldiers in 2013 by the Medrovac Foundation and the Rotary Club of Makati Metro. In 2018, he was a recipient of the Award for Continuing Excellence in Service conferred by the Metrobank Foundation. In 2019, Lieutenant General Brawner was bestowed with the Lapu-Lapu Award by President Rodrigo de la Roa Duterte for his valuable contributions in the neutralization of Abu Dar, the last of the original leaders of the Maute ISIS faction. In 2022, he was conferred as one of the outstanding citizens of Baguio for professional service, for epitomizing the greatest standards of modern-day Filipino soldiery. That same year, His Majesty, the King of Malaysia, conferred upon Lieutenant General Brawner the honorary award of the Malaysian Armed Forces Order for Valor, Gallant Commander of Malaysian Armed Forces. First degree in recognition of his untiring dedication to fostering bilateral relations between the Philippine Army and the Malaysian Armed Forces. In March 2023, Lieutenant General Brawner was inducted into the U.S. Army War College International Fellows Hall of Fame in recognition of his service at the highest command position in the Philippine Army. In that same visit, U.S. Secretary of Defense, on behalf of the President of the United States, conferred upon Lieutenant General Brawner the Legion of Merit, degree of Commander, in recognition of his exceptionally meritorious service as a Commanding General, Philippine Army, particularly in ensuring that the Philippine Army remains trained, ready, and postured for all missions. He was born on March 18, 1968 in Baguio City. He is married to the former Miss Melody Valeros, and they are blessed with 3 children. Please welcome Lieutenant General Romeo Brawner.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. At the outset, I would like to express how honored I am to be invited as a speaker in this luncheon meeting of the Rotary Club of Makati. Being a Rotarian myself, I am a member of the Rotary Club of Tagbilaran, that is in Bohol. I am happy to see my brothers here in the Rotary Club of Makati, exploring grounds to collaborate with the Philippine Army in the name of service above self. I always look forward to attending gatherings like this as I treat them as opportunities to cascade security-related information and insights, apprise different segments of our society on the progress of your Philippine Army's transformation journey to remain responsive to its core purpose of serving the people and securing the land, and explore opportunities for collaborative undertakings. To begin, may I first present to you an audio-visual presentation entitled The Army Today. I hope the video works.
For any standing army, ensuring the safety and security of the nation and its citizens from all threats is no easy feat. Doing so requires the utmost discipline, commitment, respect, and love for the country, as exemplified by a few exceptional men and women who are willing to serve their nation and their people. The Philippines is a culturally diverse nation of multiple islands. The country, being an archipelago, makes it rather complicated to fully secure against threats. But the Filipino people are not unfamiliar with combating the said threats. With the founding of the Katipunan in 1892, that led to the birth of the Philippine Revolutionary Government and its army on March 22, 1896, history is a witness to the fervor and determination of the Filipino people in its fight not just for freedom and independence from colonizers, but also to attain peace and stability. The quest for peace continues in the home islands and even overseas. The Philippine Expeditionary Forces to Korea in 1952, the counterinsurgency operations against the pro-communist Hukbalahap in 1954, and the mission of peace in the form of the Philippine Civic Action Group in the 1960s in Vietnam were the most notable. As time progressed, threats continued to evolve. For decades, communist terrorists and extremist insurgents have plagued the lives of the Filipino people in the countryside. Efforts to bring progress to these remote areas by constructing public utilities like roads and other infrastructures got delayed or were halted altogether. Eventually, terrorist activity inevitably crept from the countryside to the suburbs and into the cities. The all-out war in 2000, the Zamboanga siege in 2013, and the Marawi siege in 2017 brought massive destruction, not only to public areas, but to private properties as well. The battles were ultimately won, but not without the brave men and women who gallantly fought. Even some of them gave the ultimate sacrifice to liberate the affected areas from the terrorist influence. These constant attacks on the populace continued, and the Philippine Army relentlessly fought to counter these acts of terror. Always at the lead, significant gains were made. However, the need to ramp up the modernization of the service was apparent to achieve total success and finally win the peace. In the digital age, data is easily available due to the technology being within reach. This also means that data can be easily stolen and utilized. At the very worst, state secrets and classified information may end up in the wrong hands and can be used for cyber terrorism. Aside from these, other natural and man-made disasters, like the approximately 20 typhoons that hit the country annually, inevitably lead to large-scale destruction of life and property. Therefore, humanitarian assistance and disaster response capabilities are necessary to be bolstered as well. With the constant threats, foreign or domestic, natural or man-made, that the Filipino people continuously faces, the Philippine Army continues to ensure that it is up to the task in keeping with its motto, serving the people, securing the land. In this regard, the Army relentlessly pursues the Army Transformation Roadmap in line with the revised AFP modernization program. From the lessons learned in past armed encounters and incidents, the Philippine Army has greatly improved its core competencies. Additional small arms and night fighting equipment were procured in order to improve urban warfighting capabilities and increase efficiency in neutralizing urban and hybrid threats while avoiding collateral damages and civilian casualties. In line with the goals for the Horizon 2 of the revised AFP modernization program, various military equipment and assets were procured to prepare for the transition from addressing internal threats to territorial defense. It did not only increase the Army's operational readiness, but also its defense posture. Additional communications equipment and mobile command centers were also acquired to ensure effective, reliable, and secure communications between Army units, which is vital to the success of any given operation. Along with this, unmanned aerial vehicles were purchased and distributed to various units, giving the operational commander a better appreciation of the area of operations. Cybersecurity measures have also been greatly increased, ensuring that classified information will not be compromised and end up in the wrong hands. These modern acquisitions augmented the existing assets during the conduct of humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations. These were also utilized by the government in constructing public infrastructure and utilities. Along with this new equipment, various mission-essential task list-based trainings are continuously conducted with the Philippine Army's foreign counterparts, both within and outside the country. These purposive and responsive trainings enhance the skills, knowledge, and attitude of soldiers from the involved armies. It further strengthened diplomatic relations, which in turn helped in maintaining peace, development, and regional stability. To complement the regular troops, the reserve force development is one of the Philippine Army's priority through the purpose conduct of training and capability development. The Philippine Army ensures effective mobilization when the need arises during the times of conflict or disaster. All of these efforts were geared towards the fulfillment of the Philippine Army's mandated task to develop, organize, train, equip, support, and sustain Army forces for the conduct of prompt and sustained ground operations. The Army shall always be at the forefront in its pursuit of enduring peace and security in support to nation building. Through the years, The Philippine Army faced challenges and hardships of varying intensity. But the Army, being mission-focused and dedicated to duty, pushed through to ensure that, at the end of the day, the Filipino people would be safe and secure. With the guidance of Lieutenant General Romeo S. Brawner Jr., the 65th Commanding General of the Philippine Army, and his command thrusts to serve. The soldiers and their units' morale and welfare are being taken care of, while their skills and their competencies are greatly enhanced. Resources are also distributed to the far-flung army units across the country, so that victory can be achieved against all threats. With continuous excellence in performing its mandated tasks, the Philippine Army is truly a dependable, reliable, and a professional organization. One thing is for sure, the Army would not have succeeded alone. Without the help from its partners, allies, and stakeholders, it would not be where it is today. Since time immemorial, the Filipino troops fought gallantly against these threats. Now, with the Army Transformation Roadmap of 2040, aiming to make the Army stronger, more dynamic and secure in the country, and with allies that they can mutually depend on, they can effectively serve the Filipino people as members of the Philippine Army, the premier fighting force of the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
This is your Philippine Army at 126, strong, united, and reliable.
Thank you. For the second part of my presentation, shown is the sequence. I hope you enjoyed the video. This year, we are celebrating the 126th founding anniversary of the Philippine Army. So, to begin, I will first discuss briefly the status and prospects on the major threats we are confronting. The Communist Terrorist Group, or CTG, and the local terrorist groups, or the LtG, have wreaked widespread violence, caused unimaginable physical and economic suffering, as well as senseless loss of lives and irreparable destruction of properties and critical infrastructure of various business companies, particularly those in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. I am therefore glad to report that the CTG is now on a downward spiral due to our effective and sustained campaign against the group using a whole-of-nation approach as operationalized by the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-ELCA. Just like the CTGs, the capabilities and leadership of the local terrorist groups have been significantly degraded after the decisive battles in Marawi and the ensuing follow-on of efforts. The gains in the CTG and LtG front are concrete and encouraging, but the situation remains fragile. Now, looking at the external challenges, we cannot ignore or remain oblivious of things happening in our immediate periphery because of their potential security and economic implications. The second decade of the century saw the significant rise of China with expansionist and hegemonic ambitions that came with it. Expansionists in the sense that it started not only aggressively enforcing its territorial claim demarcated by an imaginary 9-dash line, but also started developing uninhabited land features within with clear military utility as evidenced by the existence of defense and military equipment stationed thereat. The ensuing intense territorial disputes inevitably gave rise to the militarization of the area, which in essence transformed the area into a virtual tinderbox that could ignite and escalate any moment due to miscalculations and reckless behavior of claimants. I will dispense with the military repercussions of this particular scenario. Instead, I will describe to you what would be at stake in economic terms. First, long-term economic disruption is to be expected if conflict breaks out in the West Philippine Sea. Annually, about $5.3 trillion of goods pass through this strategically vital waterway, while 4 leading exporting countries such as China, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan rely on it for maritime trade. The immediate effect is a disrupted supply chain of global scale more severe than the ones caused by COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war, resulting in food shortages and unavailability of critical supplies. Even in the absence of actual conflict, the situation imposes huge opportunity costs on the Philippines as it is deprived of its right to exploit and benefit from the natural resources that could be found in the West Philippine Sea, such as marine products and energy sources. Specifically, the West Philippine Sea accounts for 12% of the total annual global fish catch because of the rich biodiversity in the Spratly Islands. In addition, the region is also rich in undersea methane hydrates, which contain natural gas. It is believed that the methane hydrates that can be exploited in the South China Sea could power the Chinese economy for 100 years. This contested region holds an estimated 190 trillion cubic feet of natural gas and 11 billion barrels of oil in probable reserves. Moving on, China's hegemonic ambition is putting it in a direct collision path with the global superpower, the United States. At present, the strategic competition between the two powers is very much evident and has in fact a polarizing effect among the countries in the Indo-Pacific. Because of these power alignments and amid the tensions gripping Taiwan over the declared intention of China to reunite with Taiwan by any means possible, including the use of force, the Philippines, owing to its defense alliance with the US, as well as its strategic geographic location along the first island chain in relation to the contested powers, northern and central Luzon, in essence, will be a key and contested terrain, and there is no way that our country will not get involved if a war indeed breaks out between China and US over Taiwan. But even without actual conflict occurring yet, the competition, the power play, and positioning short of warfare could already be in play in the Philippines. How then do we make sense of all of this? I will not anymore dwell on how local threats are disrupting businesses and endangering the economic health of the country, but I want to focus on the greater danger lurking ahead, which some of you might not have yet realized. This can be summed up in 2 main points. First, consistent with the tenets of unrestricted warfare and in the context of the ongoing US-China strategic competition, companies could become unwitting tools to promote the interests of contending entities. This is very much evident in the areas of telecommunications, energy, mining, banking and finance, construction, manufacturing, and transportation. Second, companies are consistently being targeted by potential adversaries for positional and technological advantage. To elaborate on positional advantage, access to strategic real estate and key geographic terrain for various potential military uses are being obtained covertly through full ownership or controlling stakes in local companies. The same is true in the technological field, specifically for companies engaged in disruptive and game-changing technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, 3D printing, quantum technology, nanotechnology, and the like. Having given a bird's eye view of the strategic landscape, I will now proceed to the different roles performed by the Army. Knowing our role will help us clearly identify areas where we can collaborate and synergize our efforts to better serve our primary customers, the people. Over the years, your Army has adopted many faces. We have become protectors and defenders of the people and the state. We have become enablers of progress and development. We have become bridge to social-cultural divide, interagency collaborator, first responders, active partners in global community, and source of information on security threats. Because of these evolving roles, the Army has been driven to consciously reinvent itself to keep pace with the rapid developments in the security environment. Toward this end, the Philippine Army embarked on a transformation journey in 2010 in partnership with the Institute for Solidarity in Asia and its desire to achieve operational and organizational excellence as well as good governance. We use the performance governance system, which is a local adaptation of the balanced scorecard system. We evidently reap the fruits of embarking on a transformation journey as we were recognized by various credible survey institutions for high approval and trust ratings in the past years. And just last year, according to Publicus Asia Incorporated, your Army garnered 92% approval and 84% trust ratings. In 2022, the Army saw the need to recalibrate its transformation roadmap to adjust to the realities of the times. Its readjusted vision is to become world-class, multi-mission ready, and cross-domain capable by 2040, guided by the shown strategy map, which depicts the support processes, the core processes, strategic focus, and impact. To note, the support processes and core approaches are meant for organizational development, while the strategic focus is centered on capability development. For the medium term and consistent with the long-term strategic direction, your Army's current thrusts are divided into three categories: capability development, organizational enhancement, and individual welfare. For capability development, first is to enhance the warfighting capabilities for external defense with focus on investments in the long-range precision fires, air defense, artillery, anti-armor aviation, as well as cyber and electronic warfare capabilities. Next is to enhance capabilities for our non-traditional roles to perform various humanitarian assistance and disaster response operations, coping with the demands brought about by increasing occurrence of disasters, calamities, and even pandemic. Then to develop a functional reserve force, not only to serve as base of expansion of the regular force in times of war and contingencies, but more importantly, during peacetime, they will serve as force multipliers for disaster response, social, civic programs, and other national development initiatives. This is the reason why we are advocating for the revival of mandatory reservist training for all Filipino citizens. While for organizational enhancement, first is to pursue a systemic approach to elevate training standards that match operational and administrative needs. Next is to rationalize recruitment, selection, and promotion policies to ensure that the best are attracted, selected, and retained. Then, to enhance sustainment system to ensure continuous availability of critical supplies across the depth of the operational environment by mechanizing and digitizing processes when applicable. We also aim to refocus our research to the Army's core areas of excellence to make them purposive and relevant, with the intent to aspire for selective sufficiency, specifically on supplies and technologies essential to the Philippine Army's land defense concept, guided by a functional roadmap. And lastly, to pursue the Army's total data integration to benefit the big data analytics for enhanced operational effectiveness, organizational efficiency, and data-driven decisions. And for the individual welfare, we will provide the individual soldier with quality individual clothing, protection, and combat equipment. We will adopt a proactive and holistic paradigm on health and wellness, leveraging partnerships with concerned stakeholders to achieve maximum coverage. We will strive to provide the necessary support systems for soldiers and civilian human resource to live decent and comfortable lives. This includes quartering provisions and ready access to spiritual, professional, financial, and mental support systems. Moving on to the last part of my talk, it is not difficult to look for areas where we can collaborate and engage in meaningful activities. As mentioned in the start of the talk, both our organizations have one thing in common, and that is our genuine desire to serve our people. In this regard, I have identified 5 areas where we can collaborate, and maybe you can suggest more after my talk. First, we can jointly undertake civic action programs of whatever nature anywhere in the Philippines. Second, we can do joint public information drives, especially on how to address urgent public concerns, such as in the areas of health, public safety, security, livelihood, and other forms of public service. Third, we could also partner in conducting limited disaster response activities, such as distribution of relief goods, emergency response, and the like. Fourth, considering the diverse range of expertise of your members, we could do expertise exchanges in the form of reciprocal customized trainings. And finally, we could also have other forms of capacity building, like vital information sharing. On the side, you might be interested to support us in any way possible in our capability, organizational, and individual thrusts mentioned a while ago that would give us the wherewithal to perform our roles better. It is the whole nation that benefits, after all, if you invest in your Philippine Army. Great strides have been made in our transformation journey, but much still needs to be done. To be able to sustain our momentum, we will be needing all the support that we could muster from all segments of our society. In closing, I would like to thank you again for giving me this privilege to speak before you, my Rotarian brothers, It has been an honor to share the story of how your army is addressing the security challenges of today and beyond. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
So General Brawner has graciously agreed to have a open forum. With that, okay, so we have a mic there. May we invite Rotarians to ask the good general any questions relating to the topic that was just discussed? Anyone? Yes, VP Tony.
Yes, General Brawner. My first question is, you mentioned you have interaction with counterparts from other countries. Could you elaborate if you've had any with South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, Australia, and China? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So we continue to collaborate with our ally. We have one ally, the United States, and we have several partners, namely Australia, Japan, South Korea, Canada. We don't have direct links with Taiwan, but we definitely are making plans for Taiwan. For China, we do send our officers for schooling in China. I think on the average, we have about 3 students per year in China attending several or different courses, but that is just limited to that. But for our ally, the United States, of course, you know that we already have exercises with them. In fact, the Balikatan exercise is now ongoing. And for this year, this is the biggest Balikatan exercise so far. We have about 17,000 troops involved in the Balikatan exercise. Last year, we had about only 8,000 troops combined. No, this year we have 17. So it's almost twice the amount, or more than twice the amount, the number. So aside from that, we are also training with the Australians. They have a small contingent that they sent, and we are now training with the Australians. We will soon be training with the Japanese forces. Right now, they sent, just this morning, just before I came here, I received the contingent from Japan. They are here to observe the live firing that we are going to do tomorrow along the coastline of Zambales. We are going to fire actual missiles tomorrow, and we are going to try to sink a ship, one of our ships. It's a decommissioned ship already, so we can sink it. So we are going to test our missiles tomorrow, and part of the exercise between the Philippines and the US would be the observers. So we have observers from Japan, from Australia, from the ASEAN countries. We might have the attaché of China observing as well. So these are the engagements that we are having with our ally and our partners. Thank you.
Thank you, General. We now have Attorney Howie Calleja, followed by PN Keith Harrison.
Good afternoon, General. I have 2 questions, or one related. You talked about mandatory training that you are supporting. So just to clarify, it's mandatory training, not mandatory service. Just to clarify, maybe you can wait on that later. And my second is, of course, the Rotarians here want service. Ang tanong pwede pa ba kaming maging military reservist? O overage na kami?
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Sir, let me clarify. It's mandatory training, not mandatory service. So unlike South Korea, unlike Israel, where they have mandatory service for all of their citizens, sa atin, we are going to have mandatory training for our tertiary students, meaning yung college. I'm sure some of you went through that program, yung ROTC program. So our Senate and Congress, House of Representatives, are now trying to revive the mandatory ROTC. And it will not just be for the male students, it will be for the female students as well. The reason why this is important is because if you look at the experience of Ukraine in the Russian-Ukraine war, it is the citizens who are defending Ukraine against Russian soldiers. You see women, you even see children fighting against the Russians, Ukrainian women and children. So we're not saying that there might be a war in the near future, but we just have to prepare. 2 weeks ago, I hosted General Flynn. General Flynn is the commander of the U.S. Army Pacific. And we went to Corregidor. While we were in Corregidor, we were reading the placards about the history of the facilities in Corregidor. Nakalagay doon, this facility in Corregidor was built in 1905 to 1907. And he said, imagine, General, as early as 1905, the Americans were already planning for something, preparing for something, which arrived 4 decades after, during the World War II. And he said to me, I think this is history repeating itself. We are here once again. We are developing our EDCA sites. We are establishing stronger relations between our armed forces, and we are preparing for the future. So it's really paramount that we start preparing as early as now. For anything. We're not even sure. A lot of people have been saying, oh, it's impossible that Russia will invade Ukraine. No? But we saw a glimpse of that when they started invading Crimea. And yeah. So nothing is impossible, especially after the declaration by the Chinese ambassador a few days ago saying that they will use everything in their power, even force, to ensure that Taiwan remains a province of China. So that's why we have to prepare. That is the rationale, Sir Attorney Howie, of the proposal for the mandatory training of our youth, especially our tertiary, our college students. Thank you, sir.
You second question po, General.
Yes, sir. Yes. Actually, sir, we are expanding our reservists. We are accepting our reserve force, volunteers. We're accepting volunteers to our reserve force. We have two kinds of reserve. We have the ready reserve. These are the younger guys. And we have the standby reserve, which are the older guys. I think you belong to the first category, no? The ready reserve. Ready reserve, the younger guys. So pwede, sir, you can. Pwede pa. You can apply. We are trying to build a force, a reserve force of about 900 to 1 million forces. I mean, members. So you are welcome to join the reserve force of the Philippine Army. Thank you, sir.
I think I think an application form is in order, General. Attorney Hawia. So we have for the next question, PN Keith, followed by Governor Sid, and then Jolion Tiglao, and then Harley.
Firstly, thank you very much for the talk today. My wife and I have a business. My wife is over there, also a Rotarian, by the way. Have a business in Somalia, so we will watch out for the live fire. And we also notice that there is quite a lot of activity. Sometimes it comes in close to the coast and sometimes it goes away. And it's quite disturbing when you think that there could well be activity between foreign forces and local inhabitants concerning these dashes that are being built. But actually, that wasn't my question. My question was to say, what plans might you have to develop a stronger alliances with the people within ASEAN? Because clearly you mentioned, well, Japan isn't an ASEAN, but Korean, but down to Singapore, which has full military service, and then so does Vietnam, I suspect. Indonesia, I'm not sure about. Malaysia, I suspect as well. And why would you only have tie-ups with people who are just in the region, but also perhaps those which are further afield? Because the 5.3 trillion worth of trade, in fact, affects a lot of other people. But anyway, firstly, it was to do with how you might work with ASEAN and stronger military service for the youngsters.
Yes, thank you, sir. So we have the ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, with 10 members. And last year, one additional member was added. East Timor is now part of the ASEAN. So there are 11 member nations. And every year, the armies of this 10, it used to be 10 nations, would come together for a forum. It's usually coincided with 3 activities. The first one is the ASEAN Armies Chiefs multilateral meeting. And then we have the Sergeant Majors multilateral meeting. And then we have the ASEAN Armies Rifle Meet. So while the leaders are talking, our shooters are competing. It's usually in a 1-week duration. So we use this kinds of venue for us to talk about security issues and try to come up with agreements. But so far, the agreement that we have had is that we are going to respect each other's preferences and interests. For instance, when we wanted to develop a NATO-like architecture, security architecture, not everybody was agreeable to that. So, for instance, there were some countries who are actually more aligned with China who are not agreeable to that security architecture. So, right now, we do not have really a security agreement among the nations, but we have exchanges. We also have bilateral or trilateral exercises. For instance, we have a trilateral exercise with Malaysia and Indonesia called the Indo-Malfi exercise. We also have exercises with Brunei, for instance. With Singapore, Anoa Singa is the name of the exercise. So we have these kinds of exercises, but not as I said, an ASEAN security architecture, sir. So I hope I answered your question, sir.
Thank you, General. We now have past District Governor Sid Garcia.
Good afternoon, General. As you are most probably aware, in 2014, then the late President Benigno Aquino signed an agreement with the U.S. Defense Department on the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. And recently, the government, together with the defense secretaries of both countries, announced the establishment of 4 new bases and possibly even more. So I have 2 questions related to that. The first one is, how will this enhance the capability and modernization of the armed forces? And secondly, in the event of the conflict between the United States and Taiwan, how will this not even put our country more in danger, especially our people? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So the EDCA sites, or EDCA means Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, no? EDCA. And in that agreement, the United States Armed Forces is allowed to use the existing camps of the armed forces of the Philippines. So it has to be an existing camp. And they're allowed to come in, use our facilities, number 1, for training, and number 2, for warehousing. And what are they allowed to put in their warehouses? They're allowed to put engineering equipment and rescue equipment, or humanitarian assistance and disaster response equipment, as well as supplies. So they can store food supplies, for instance, medicines, and the equipment that can be used for, as I said, engineering purposes or disaster response purposes only. So yun lamang po. So it can enhance, it can definitely help us enhance our capabilities in terms of training. That's why if you'll notice, some of the EDCA sites are in our existing training facilities, Fort Magsaysay, in Palawan, Cebu. We also have in Zambales. In the north, we have areas that we can use in case there is a war between the US and China. We are definitely going to try to bring the Filipinos from Taiwan back to the Philippines for safety reasons. No? So we now have plans to expatriate them from Taiwan, and we will be using the EDCA sites for them to be billeted at, treated at, and so on. Also, if something happens, we will expect an influx of evacuees. No? So this morning, again, I mentioned about receiving the Japanese. They're also planning for that, because if something happens, the closest countries to Taiwan are the Philippines and Japan. So we might see an influx of evacuees going towards the north to Japan and south towards the Philippines. So I hope I answered your question, sir.
Thank you, General. Before we proceed, may we remind, since this is a very interesting exchange, may we remind everyone to please go direct to your questions. Ask brief questions and related ones, please. Jolion, then Harley, then P.E. Bing,
Good afternoon,
and
General.
Rojas. We'll see if we'll have time.
Good afternoon, General. Just 2 brief questions. With the state of affairs that we are in right now, if we are invaded by China, how many days do you think we can last before we're overrun? Okay. Second question, why don't we have partnerships with Vietnam? I regard the Viet Cong as probably the most capable fighting force in Asia right now, even better than the Chinese. They outlasted the Americans at the long Vietnam War. And why don't we have more partnerships with Israel, who are probably the best urban fighters in the world? We shouldn't rely on America. The US hasn't won a war since World War II. You know, so, and yet we're still leaning on them. Thank you.
Oh yeah, how long will we last? Okay, interesting question. Well, we tried to do a war game, sir. They said, well, according to the war game, we will only last 2 days with the current hardware that we have, our fighters and our ships. Sabi nga nila, it might not even last 1 day. They'll already be here. Because if you look at modern warfare, before they even arrive at our shores, they will already have bombarded already with their missiles our airports, our seaports, our seat of government, our telecommunications, our energy grid, and so on. So if that happens, but we are preparing for that. We have our unilateral defense plan, Aguila, which contains our plan to defend our nation unilaterally, meaning tayo lang, just us, because we cannot, in fact, expect our ally and our partners to be here right away, So we have to defend our nation. And then if they reach our shores and we are not able to repel them, then we will go back to our guerrilla tactics like we did during World War II. But the good thing, sir, our strategy now is that of deterrence. That is why we are banking on our ally, the United States, because we have a mutual defense treaty with them. And by allowing them to come here, train with us, use our facilities, what we're trying to achieve is deterrence. Meaning, we tell our prospective aggressors not to pursue their plans. Because if you do that, this could happen to you. Parang ganun po. That is the general strategy that we have now. We cannot be at par with even our countries like Vietnam. Vietnam, they manufacture their own guns, their own ammunition, their own drones. Tayo wala. We buy from Israel. In fact, our latest tanks and our latest 155 howitzers are from Israel. Our latest electronic warfare equipment are from Israel. So we do have links with Israel and we are training with them, sir. So it's not just the US, but we're doing trainings with everyone, including South Korea, Vietnam even. So that's what we're doing, sir. And we're buying from a lot of countries, not just from the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Next, we have Harley, followed by PE Bing.
Good afternoon, General. I would like to greet you like this. Hep, hep, hooray! Bravo, General. Thank you. Anyway, I want to have 2 questions with you with regard to what I have signed. I signed a bilateral trade agreement with Indonesia on a B2B, global bartering. Now, I have 2 questions. Number 1 question is, you have this civic action under the LCAC. LCAC, right? LCAC. Now, I'm thinking about if your LCAC can cooperate with our plantation, because we are emphasizing now on a regional plantation on tobacco as well as abaca. Because we're going to barter that with coal, urea fertilizers, and maybe tin cans eventually. Can we join together on this kind of approach with your command, of course, to have this plantation done also with your group in the countryside? That's number 1 question. Number 2 is, can the army do also what Indonesia have done in terms of bartering their palm oil with fighter jet, Sukhoi? They bartered that on 11 Sukhoi jet fighters with only a palm oil. So maybe we can also barter with the jet fighters coming from other countries using also our tobacco or abaca, or maybe mineral resources, just like that, General. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your question. Uh, so part of the non-traditional role that the Army is doing now is that we're trying to raise funds for our modernization because we cannot rely entirely on the government to modernize us. So we have vast areas of land that are idle, and we're looking at the possibility of partnering with corporations so that this idle land, military reservations, can be utilized to generate funds, not only for modernization, but also for the pension of our retirees. No? So we can do that, sir. And in terms of bartering, we can look into that and study how we can do so. Thank you, sir.
We now have PE Bing Matoto.
Thank you very much, David. General, actually, my question be asked by the others, but one question that I have that came to mind when you made reference to deterrence, no, as a consideration for the EDCA. Well, is it really going to deter that situation, or is it in fact going to be a magnet that will in fact attract risks for our country? No, because even if the strategic considerations about the pathway in terms of the global trade, where really it's just a small whole global trade. No, so it isn't that critical as a country relative to perhaps the bigger countries. So my question really is it really beneficial for a country, this EDCA? And I wonder, under the EDCA, under what conditions could it be modified or in fact even canceled? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So that's really one of the hot topics about the EDCA, whether it could deter an attack or attract. In fact, the local governor in the area is saying that if you have the EDCA sites there, they become targets for bombardment by an adversary. Well, the thing, sir, is that we cannot stay neutral. That is the reality. Because even if we don't allow the United States to come here, our big neighbor will still continue bullying us every day, bullying our fishermen. Even if we protest, which we did, and we won that case, walang nangyari. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. They continue to bully us. So we have no choice. We have no choice. And we already have a defense treaty with the United States. And so by allowing them to come here, yes, there could be that possibility, but that it could in fact be more disadvantageous to us. But sir, really, we cannot stay neutral. Whether we like it or not, because of our location, the powers will take advantage of our location. Once they control northern Luzon, they have control over the straits, the sea lines of communication, the entry into the South China Sea, and the exit towards the Pacific Ocean. So it's very critical, sir, that we defend our country through deterrence. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, General. We have, in the interest of time, last three questions. Ed Rojas, Rodrigo Segura, and then lastly, Past President Cesar. Thank you.
Good afternoon, General. Many small countries support their local arms industry. Do we have that kind of policy supporting by buying from local defense manufacturers? We have light and small arms manufacturers. We have good shipbuilding for warships. Can we also support our domestic manufacturers, General?
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, during the time of the former President Marcos, he started the Self-Reliant Defense Posture Program. We were already making our own M16 rifles. we were already manufacturing our own ammunition, radios. No? But well, unfortunately, we weren't able to sustain this defense industry. Nawala, sir, nawala ito because we didn't have customers aside from the armed forces of the Philippines. So it was not sustainable at that time. But now, our new president is again reviving that. Actually, it started with the previous administration with President Duterte. He started already the ball rolling to revive the self-reliant defense posture program. So we have Arms Corps making our local guns. We have other companies which manufacture really good rifles. In fact, Arms Corps is already exporting to the United States. So yes, sir, we have a very bright future for our local industry, shipbuilding, even the local transport manufacturers are getting into the picture already. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, General. We now have Rodrigo Segura.
Thank you, General, for the talk. And I am from Colombia, and Colombia is a difficult country, and is an order. Anyway, we always talked about communism in Colombia, and the communists were creating a lot of problems in the country. The communists were supported by Cuba, and Cuba was basically channeling resources coming from Russia. Now, here in the local scenario, who is supporting the so-called communists? Because we talk about China. China is a communist country, but who is supporting the local communists? Are they Europeans or are they Vietnamese, or where are those funds coming from? Because they are distracting the army, hitting here and there, but then the army cannot operate in case of an invasion or whatever. So how are you going to cope with that?
Yes, sir. A big portion of the funds that are raised by the communist terrorist group, the New People's Army, come from extortion from local businesses like mining companies. That's why in the video a while ago, you saw a lot of burnings. They burn the equipment of the contractors, of the companies, if they do not give in to the extortion of the New People's Army. But abroad, they get, have support, fund support from the European countries. That is why Joma Season went to the Netherlands to seek asylum, and they have connections among the European countries, and they send support here to the local communist group. But recently, we have been able to stop that already, especially with the death of Jose Maria Season in the Netherlands. So we're seeing, sir, the downfall, the ultimate end of the communist terrorist group here in our country very soon. They only have 2 remaining guerrilla fronts, which are located in northern Samar. They have a few groups, a small group in the north, in Kalinga, and then a few in Bicol region. 2 remaining guerrilla fronts in Samar, and a few of them in Negros and in Surigao, northern Mindanao. But all the rest of the country are now clear of communist terrorists. So, thank you, sir.
So for our last question, you have the honors, past President Cesar Campos.
General, my last question. The recent announcement of the government that there are 4 or 5 areas of the Philippine area will be given to the American forces, presumably to bring not only food, but maybe armament. This was recently announced. 5 areas, additional sort of their subway. Is that correct?
Sir, the 4 additional EDCA sites are 3 of them are located in the north. 1 in Isabela and 2 in Cagayan. and the other one in Palawan. So these are additional sites. But then again, these are not given to the Americans because in our constitution, we cannot allow foreign forces to base here in the Philippines. There are no more basing, just like Clark Air Base and Subic base before. So what the EDCA sites are actually existing camps of the military, of the armed forces of the Philippines, that we are allowing the Americans to use for a specific time only. It's not
Not armed forces, in other words. What will they do?
they're going, as I mentioned earlier, sir, we're going to use them as training facilities and warehousing. Yes, sir.
Okay, that was more than engaging. We thank you so much, General, for your answers. And now we move on to the part of the program where our President, Michael Escaler, will deliver his response.
Those were really tough questions, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, General Brawner. I mean, I am very inspired when I was reading your biography. I didn't know three-star generals can be masters in business administration, masters in technology, masters in information. You're the most educated soldier I have ever met. I'm sure you're more educated than everybody in this room, especially myself. But it's very inspiring to see people like you and the way you field answer the questions that were given to you on any matter in a deep way. So on behalf of the Rotary Club, thank you for enlightening us. I think the room is much more informed. You saw how everybody was very curious about the China possible intervention in Philippines, right? So, General, we are with you in all your good deeds. The Rotary Club of Makati wants to thank you for your afternoon. Thank you. General, we have a certificate of appreciation to you from the Rotary Club of Makati, together with our 55th year of service, and a bottle of wine with which to read it. Thank you. Thank you, General. Thank you.
May we invite the General with all the Rotarians from the presidential table to please have let's have a photo op.
Club of Makati, I hereby call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.